Assalamualaikum. Very good morning. Selamat pagi. It is my great pleasure to extend a heartfelt thanks and a warm welcome to each of you to ISIS Malaysia again this morning. Today, ISIS Malaysia is pleased to host a policy brief. This is a launch on quote unquote novel AI technologies and the future of work in Malaysia. This initiative is, of course, led by ISIS Malaysia through our annual praxis process, undertaken in collaboration with the World Bank and supported by Konrad Adenauer Stiftung Malaysia. Generative AI and other novel AI technologies are the latest turn in a long arc of technological disruption to human nature and labor. The machines of the industrial age are displaced and have been displacing and been displaced with muscle and brawn. But with the rise of computers in the 1980s and digital technologies thereafter, we began to see the mechanization not only of brawn but of brain. Today, generative AI, powered by vast data centers running on the land, water, energy of the earth, can perform tasks once thought to belong solely to the human mind. Yet, lurking in the background, technology surreptitiously reshapes norms, incentives, and power structures in ways that are less visible but no less profound. The policy challenge then is to steer diffusion so that technology does not render totally ocious our innate productive capacity, but augments human capability, protects dignity at work, and renews the social contract on skills, wages, mobility, inclusion, and worker voice. As Martin Heidegger reminds us in Die Frage nach der Technik. Die Technik ist nicht das gleiche wie das der Technik. Der Weg ist ein Werk des Denkens. Well, the translation is that the question concerning technology, the essence of technology is not itself technological. The path is a path of thinking. I think that is a very crucial point here. So, whether we embrace or resist artificial intelligence, we are entwined with technology. And we enter not with thoughts fogged up, but with our minds wide open. I raise this because it is said that generative AI can now replace quote unquote brain as readily as the lumbering machines of the industrial age has replaced brawn. Further, technology reshapes more than our material and physical world. Something else also changes in the realm of the metaphysical, social, and the political. This quote unquote captivity could be both metaphorical and physical, depending on the extent of AI's presence in our endeavors. In this regard, I am reminded of the notion of the captive mind in the historical context of how external influences, particularly those by oppressive regimes of the past, can often limit the intellectual and creative capacities of individuals. Of course, in post colonial studies, we postulate how this mental state arises when individuals internalize their ideologies and structures of domination, thereby undermining their ability to think independently and critically. Closer to home, of course, we have the concept expounded by Said Hussein Alatas in his magnum opus, The Myth of the Lazy Native, where he critiques how colonial narratives often depicted local populations as inherently lazy and incapable of self governance. This leads to the mental stereotype of the captive mind, where the colonized accept these narratives as true and therefore internalize them. Now, artificial intelligence is said to take this captivity or the domination to the next, perhaps even the ultimate level. We can extrapolate this backwards to Heidegger's earlier warning concerning the use of modern technology, which I quoted just now, to harness and control nature, arising from the Weltanschauung, the worldview of nature, as a resource to be fully exploited, ultimately reducing it to a mere standing reserve. And such a worldview risks alienating humanity from genuine experiences of being. The question is whether the onset of the domination of AI will lead to the unintended consequence of a totally captive mind in the generations to come. Of course, on the presumption that the captivity has not already taken hold yet, at least not on a scale that we fear. And the fear is that our captive minds will not only be rendered incapable of critical or independent thinking, but captured to such an extent that thinking itself may even become irrelevant. This, of course, is what we call an existential threat. Bringing to mind René Descartes' proclamation, Je pense donc je suis, or in the Latin version, cogito ergo sum. I think, therefore I am. Therefore, in one fell stroke, Descartes purportedly, supposedly found the Holy Grail in the philosophical quest for the proof of man's and women's existence. But what happens if it is, I am incapable of thinking, therefore I, and there's the huge question mark. Addressing the captive mind requires not just a critical reassessment of internalized narratives, but the broader intellectual structures that would impact our existence as sentient human beings, endowed with subjective feelings, sensations, and consciousness. The rapid development of AI exemplifies the challenge of an unfolding of technology that enhances human capabilities, yet simultaneously poses these existential risks. To my mind, that is the philosophical underpinning of our discourse in this and in the years to come. AI extends the logic of efficiency, prioritizing data and algorithms over ethical considerations and human values. Well, much like Hamlet's existential dilemma, the question is, do we embrace technologies that can enhance our lives to the optimum, or do we forsake it so as not to risk becoming further distanced from authentic experiences and meaningful understanding? That is the question. Ladies and gentlemen, birthed from ISIS Malaysia's flagship Praxis conference, as I mentioned earlier, in August 2024, the policy brief that we're launching brings empirical evidence to bear against some of these questions that we have raised. While deep diving into the philosophical issue of existence per se may be beyond the scope of the paper, nevertheless, it brings a theoretical rigor and practical policy work to bear against the other daunting fundamental questions. By assessing the current capabilities of generative AI, or to substitute the human effort, it explores the implications of these new technologies on Malaysia's future of work. It maps the ways in which AI tools can substitute for human effort across Malaysian occupations, but also points to areas of opportunity. Perhaps most striking are the tasks and skills where, despite rapid progress in AI, humans still retain an advantage, significantly the so called human edge skills. While that edge is quickly narrowing, it may yet represent the last frontier of uniquely human cognition and the area where policy and practice should concentrate. The analysis in this paper could help us translate Heidegger's insight into a, that is a good hint for me to end, Heidegger's insight into a practical and policy relevant ultimatum. We either guide technology so that is Gestell, That is the mode of understanding the world that is prevalent in modern technology, so that it shows us the way towards human progress, or we risk allowing technology's own logic to redefine us in ways that we may later regret. On that note, let me once again thank our collaborators, the World Bank, and our partners, Konrad Adenauer Stiftung Malaysia, and to all of you for engaging with this important enterprise. Thank you.